Running with Scissors is a developer who seemingly exists as an answer to everyone who says, you couldn't make that game nowadays, while constantly making that game nowadays. The ridiculous minds behind all three Postal games and their expansions, that being Postal, Postal 2, and Postal 4, RWS has made a business out of annoying politicians, activist moms, and game journalists with a barrage of benign and outdated jokes, memes, stereotypes, and toilet humor for over 2 decades. It's a series that you either vibe with or can't stand hearing about. Postal Brain Damage comes to us from the minds of Hyperstrange and Creative Forge Games, a boomer shooter that doesn't so much pay homage to other titles as it does one-to-one reproduce some of their mechanics. You play once again as the Postal Dude, voiced this time by Corey Cruz, who fans may remember from his work in Paradise Lost. The whole game is set in the confines of the dude's dreams as he tries to get his TV back from some form of doppelganger. Postal has never been about particularly world-changing motivations. The positive side of having this be the nightmare of a drug-addled brain is that the developers can do pretty much whatever they want, and they basically have. Every level is a mixture of sprawling open zones and connecting arenas filled with enemies that truly feel like they come from a sick brain. Levels twist and break the flow of reality at whim, taking some inspirations from the likes of Alice in Wonderland to create a giant MC Escher landscape. You start out in the suburbs killing rednecks and flying fat bastards lobbing burgers at you, and eventually fall into the world of cowboy mustaches, BDSM alien parodies, ass-tooting band members, and clowns. There's no giant spiders in this game, but there are eldritch clown abominations. Oh my god! Some of the enemies in this game are genuinely disturbing, some are kinda confusing, and some will be familiar if you know your Postal lore. Brain Damage is not safe for work, and I don't mean because of the gore. I also don't recommend playing it with your window open or your family in the room. There's no nudity, but that bow. That bow. I'm not adding that sound effect, that's in the game. Postal Brain Damage has a lot of politically charged humor, but it's so juvenile I can't imagine anyone who would take this game seriously enough to get offended by it. Actually, scratch that. I can definitely imagine some people who would get offended and write articles on There's literally an asylum enemy called the Vaccinated who walks around with a mask on his face and multiple needles jabbed in his arms. One of the bosses is the big bad Rona, which you defeat in part by vaccinating it. One of the levels takes place on the Mexican border, which is portrayed like Normandy in World War II video games, and puts you up against literal Mexican jumping beans that all talk with exaggerated accents. All of this on top of a shockingly well done war rendition of the Mexican hat dance. If you can't appreciate Postal Brain Damaged for its moronic humor and deeply outdated memes, like the references to Rebecca Black and Friday or the dude just casually saying, "Do you want to know how I got these scars?" then at least you can jam out to the game's mind-blowing soundtrack. The soundtrack was composed by two guys who run the company Ivory Tower Soundworks, and damn are they masters at their craft. When it comes to the weapons, it's like Postal went to a buffet and just picked its favorite guns from other titles. The pistol is clearly a rendition of Titanfall's Smart Pistol, albeit slightly less useful in its aiming mode. It can aim and shoot up to 3 homing bullets, but the scope is so small and it takes so long you're better off just shooting them normally. The shotgun is the super shotgun from Doom Eternal, down to the built-in hook you'll use to get around the levels and draw yourself close to enemies. Whether you consider this to be a riff or a shameless ripoff probably depends on your view of the game overall. The rifle is an automatic nail gun whose alternate fire drops bubbles that freeze enemies in place and lets you line up shots for them when the bubble bursts. I know this was pulled from a game, but the title is on the tip of my tongue. I'm sure someone will bring it up in the comments. The RPG fires rockets as well as Postal favorite holy hand grenades, ones that bounce around and have a big splash radius. The Mindfucker fires what I can only assume is Big Brain Energy meme as its alt, which if you shoot it acts like the shock rifle from Unreal Tournament. The minigun includes a tracer which you can attach to enemies, and the bow is a bow. And then you have the Pussy Blower, a vacuum that shoots cats that can be retrieved to regain ammunition. I started using that gun the most toward the end. But none of that would mean much if the underlying game wasn't good, and thankfully Postal Brain Damaged is a solid-ass shooter. You'll be doing a lot of slide jumping and hook-shotting your way around the maps, not to mention using your kick button to reflect enemy projectiles back at them. The reflection mechanic is weird. I don't want to say that it's broken, but there's definitely an issue with my depth perception. Also, it becomes useless if you have several enemies throwing crap at you at the same time, and I use the word crap literally. Every weapon feels useful, even if a lot of the alt fires like the minigun tracker and the pistol smart shoot barely have any reason for existing. Incidentally, Creative Forge have made a better Postal game than Running with Scissors has in recent years. I love the guys at RWS and I've been playing Postal games for over 20 years now, but Postal 4 so far has been a major downgrade from its predecessor, Postal 2. Postal Brain Damaged is not expensive and definitely justifies its $20 price tag. It took me about 7 hours to beat the game, but I still want to go back and find all the collectibles. 2 thumbs up. Like and subscribe for more reviews.